Early on in the race for a COVID vaccine, a small biotech with ties to San Diego was getting a lot of attention. Then Inovio Pharmaceuticals had a setback. 1 year into the pandemic, our ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl is now going in depth on whether Inovio still has room for a comeback.
Between Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, the U.S. is on track to have enough vaccines for every adult by the end of May, and enough for every kid not long after. So does that mean it's game over for Inovio Pharmaceuticals? The company's DNA-based vaccine, developed in San Diego, still hasn't started phase 3 clinical trials.
No, I don't think so. I think that, unfortunately, the virus is doing exactly what a virus does, which is kind of mutate and change.
Dr. Kate Broderick is leading Inovio's vaccine efforts.
And so I think there might well be room for new vaccines, what we call next generation vaccines, that are specifically tailored to these new strains of the virus that we're seeing circulating now.
Dr. Broderick says the company is already working on a next generation vaccine to target variants, and not just the South African, Brazilian, or UK variants we've heard about.
The virus is going to keep mutating. It's not just going to suddenly stop. So you can't just kind of check those 3 strains off and say, oh, we're good to go. We really have to be thinking sort of really proactively about what is the virus likely to do in the future.
Inovio's strategy is to try to predict future mutations using artificial intelligence and build what they're calling a pan-variant vaccine, one that can provide broad protection against multiple variants. But first, they'll need to finish testing their original formula. Instead of a needle and syringe, Inovio's vaccine uses a proprietary device to introduce DNA blueprints of the coronavirus. Back in September, the FDA halted their phase 2 trials because of questions about that battery-operated device.
So the FDA had some questions, not about the safety of the device at all, that wasn't questioned, but really just the use of the device, the way it was handled and such like.
Regulators allowed their clinical trials to resume, but Inovio will have to provide more answers before it can start the final phase 3, which they hope to begin in May or June. That means by the time Inovio is done with testing, the U.S. will likely already have enough doses for every American. But Dr. Broderick is thinking about another timeline.
I think we should maybe all be kind of trying to wrap our heads around the fact that COVID's here to stay, potentially, and that we should view it more like a flu.
She thinks this virus will become endemic, meaning we might need seasonal shots every year or so. And she says Inovio will be ready. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
Inovio is also vying for a share of the worldwide market with its original vaccine. The company signed a development deal in January with a Chinese manufacturer and is now pursuing trials there. Inovio plans to release phase 2 data coming up next month.